Welcome back to a family business podcast. Today's topic, what to do when you're stuck.
Ooh.
Like an agent, like you're a realtor. If you're feeling stuck in your business, whether that's where you're at with your goals, whether it's where you're at physically, whether it's the brokerage that you're at, all the things. So what do you do?
Look at yourself in the mirror.
Look at yourself in the mirror
I
and
can
get
do it.
motivated. No, really. I mean, that's a great question that I really think that does happen in real estate, where you get really busy and you get kind of a burnout going on. But I do think that you need to, one of my biggest pieces of advice is you have to have an outlet. I think what's worked on my behalf, that's really good, is to go for a minimum of a long walk every day. It just clears your mind and gets your brain going and gets you refocused. For some people, that might be meditation. For some people, that might be prayer. But I think physical activity is huge on a daily basis when you're stuck, to just go for a long walk and it really gets your mind working.
Well, it's important to understand as well as, you can't work day in and day out and think you're going to be okay. Not everyone's a Superman and
Or woman.
or woman, right? Exactly.
Super person,
however you want to define that as. But you got to find time to sit alone. Whether you're a single person, you have a family, you're married. There's certain things that you have to find your non-negotiables in life and set time aside for that.
Yeah,
I agree. I do though. And I think this topic is an important one right now because we're at that time of the year, right? Like, end of August, early September, mid-September, whatever. We're in that time of the year approaching fall where people have been, especially, you're in like finish up your third quarter, about to hit your fourth quarter. And, as a lot of people said, it's been an interesting year. I mean, kind of all over the board as far as like the market, despite what the doom and gloomers are saying, we are still in a buyer's market as of the recording of this podcast. And I'm sorry, we're still in a seller's market. Correct me. Yeah. Seller's market.
I just shook my head. I was like, oh yeah, you're exactly right. No, it's a seller's market.
Can you see all the people right now listening to this going, what are you talking about, lady? Where? I'm going to go listen to a different podcast.
You must be reading the national news or something.
That's right. That's right. But those of you that don't know what the difference between a seller's market and a buyer's market is, it means that you have to have 6 months or more than 6 months of inventory for it to be considered a buyer's market. Currently, right now, I think we're at about 3.5 months of inventory. We're not even close. But anyway.
It depends on where you're at in the country, though, too.
Yeah, but I just literally was pulling some stats when we recorded this. Literally nationwide, we are not in a buyer's market. We are still in a seller's market nationwide. We have not been a buyer's market for 11 years nationally. 11 years. So if you've been in the business for less than 11 years, you've actually never experienced a true buyer's market nationwide. Now, you could have pockets of areas throughout the country where, yes, you did have that. But on the national average, we have not been.
Which is really interesting. You remember when we bought our lake house in Green Lake, it was a buyer's market then. Like there were a lot of listings and every home that we would look at, we would automatically really think, and a lot of people now couldn't even imagine this, but we would automatically think we could probably get that one for $100,000 less than what they're asking. I mean, now that would be crazy to think like that.
And guess what? That was basically 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah, that was 2015.
Correct.
Yep. So and what you said is accurate.
So for those of you that are feeling stuck, though, I think the one thing I want to talk a little bit more about is like, just think about this. And this is some language to start using too, is like, we are currently entering in to the post-COVID market. That's what we're entering into. Really where we're sitting at right now is like similar to 2018, 2019. That's where we're sitting at in our industry. So I think that if you're feeling stuck, this is the time to double down on your skills and your relationships and be having those conversations, because I think it's going to be a wild ride for the next 6 to 9 months.
I think the cream's going to rise to the top more now than ever, too.
Sure.
Where it really, to your point, the law change really kind of changed, I think, a lot of these newer agents that weren't trained properly, they're no longer getting the calls online and just running out there and showing homes unless they're breaking the law. But if they're having to get into contracts, they're not trained on how to convert buyers, which has helped out the top agents or the new agents who are trained.
Right. And I think if you're sitting there, I think it's very easy for someone to sit there and you feel stuck and you don't know really what to do, and you've got time on your hands. You might not have as many appointments as you wish to have on your calendar or whatnot. But there's always something you could be doing, right? Yeah. Like Andrea mentioned, you could be honing in your skills, whether that's watching videos that are provided through different avenues, or you could be reaching out to a mentor or somebody in your office to be reviewing contracts. Pick one thing and dive into it and perfect it and move along. But there's always something that you could be doing if you feel stuck at a certain moment.
Absolutely, PT. And I listen to a lot of podcasts. And one of the biggest pieces of advice, which I kind of talked about at the start of this, is if you're stuck, move. Right.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, that's the biggest thing. Like a lot of people, when they get stuck, what they tend to do is they get what I call paralyzed, where they just kind of sit around and they don't hone their skills. And then all of a sudden they're not only stuck, but then months later they're broke.
Right.
Which you don't want to get there. So get up and get moving, whether that means going for a walk or reading a book, doing something that gets your mind going.
Have you ever seen the graphic of it's split into two, and one guy's mining, it's two characters mining, and one guy's turning around walking, and you can see the picture of the gems, and then one guy's way farther back and he's still working. It all ends at the same day, and I've probably have mentioned this before, but Deion Sanders always says, keep making the plays. People don't, it's hard to see your fruit of your labor in the first couple 30 days, right? Keep making your plays, and if you keep consistency with that, you're going to see it down the road.
Well, 100%. And especially if you're someone who got in the business within the last 5 years, the crazy thing is going back to, maybe you feel stuck because this is a market that we're entering into that you're not feeling familiar with it, right? Like it's like, okay, you're like, all of a sudden I have to negotiate inspections. Oh my gosh. Like there's not multiple offers. Like, and I have to show my buyer more than one house, right? Which is such a great thing for, like, I heard the language this morning, like where for a buyer, it's like, it's not that this is where you're going to get $100,000 off a house, but now you actually have a choice, right? You actually get to view like 5, 6, 7 homes, and you're instead of buying a house, for the most part,
some homes,
right? For the most part, there's more homes, but it doesn't mean it's because there's an extraordinary amount and it's a buyer's market. It just means that this is going back to a more normal market. Whereas before, people were buying homes maybe they liked, but they didn't love. Yeah. And now they get the opportunity. And as an agent, that's what you should be doing. Right. And it's a different feeling, I think. Like I was laughing this morning too. Like, people aren't used to having listings, right? Yeah. Do you remember, Brad, when
we would always carry 20 listings.
No, then we had a max where we wouldn't take any more than 30.
I tell you, like, I tell a story every single time. I said, I've as short as I've been, I've seen almost every side of the spectrum. When I first came in, you all had a max on how many listings you would hold in your inventory, which is crazy to think of nowadays, right? That the story is quite interesting. But I think the one thing that you have to do too is you have to look at there's always opportunity in everything, right?
Of course.
So for us, what we just mentioned, buyers have been struggling recently. They've had to make quick decisions. They've had to take bigger risks to purchase homes. And now we have to understand that the opportunity is there for the buyers to potentially have maybe another option to potentially look at, or maybe get a couple more items on the contract that's more favorable to them. So you just have to understand the opportunity in any situation that you're in, and make sure you expose it to all the people that you know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it's like you're not, but I feel like some agents are like exactly what I just said. You know what I mean? Oh my gosh, I have to show 8 houses. How about rephrasing that in your brain as I get the opportunity to show 8 houses. Like that is, and that's better for your buyer, right? So changing your mindset, I feel like, is a big part of being unstuck, right? And to your point, PT, if this is a market that you're not used to, and you got in the last 5 years, get a mentor, go shadow someone who's been through the different markets, because this is just normal. And what you said, Brad, is the people who do that, you're going to see they are going to rise to the top. They're going to continue to grow their business. They're going to have the best year ever again and again and again. And the people who aren't doing that, they're just going to get out of the business because they don't realize what an awesome opportunity they're being presented with. That's I think the difference between the difference.
Exactly. And it all goes back to this thought process. If you've ever read Atomic Habits, it's so easy for us to say, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not this, I'm not a runner, I'm not a reader, I'm not a healthy eater. You have to change your thought process, right? I am a runner, I am a reader, I am a healthy eater. That automatically just puts you in the right mindset to actually take the right step in the right direction.
Yeah. I mean, there's no question about this. I mean, there's been psychological studies that you're absolutely right. I mean, what you believe you are, you are. Right?
Yeah. Well, and that's the podcast I think I sent to both you guys. I know I shared it. The one where, I can't think of his name. It's No Days Off, but he says greatness takes greatness.
Yeah.
Like, and just like, think about that for a few minutes, right? Like, when he said it, I was like, okay, it seems simple, but it's so profound, right? If you want to be great at something, you have to spend a great amount of effort doing it. You have to spend a great amount of effort training on it. Like, and it's so true, but I just think a lot of people don't do that. And then they just think it's like playing, what's that game? Fast Money.
Everyone's been playing that for the 5-6 years, right? I mean, it's wild to see the different things that exploded over COVID, right? I mean, you have the collectibles market that, everybody thought, I'm just going to start buying all these sports collectibles and selling them at high prices. And, it correlates with everything else that happened during COVID. And it's starting to pull back a little bit just because it's not as easy as everyone thinks.
We're in a post-COVID market.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's still, like you said, I mean, let's not panic here. It's a great market still.
Yep. And there are a lot of agents that are having their best year ever, despite what you're hearing. Like they are the people that they're going back to the basics.
And it has nothing to do, like a lot of people think, well, I mean, one of my favorite deals is I have 25 years of experience.
You do, Brad.
30 years. Nobody cares. It's like, how well are you trained? And it can get dangerous at times with a lot of agents who I've noticed that they never change. And then everything passes them by, that they just automatically think that their experience is going to get them, or is basically going to maintain where they're at. And yes, it helps. Absolutely. You really have a lot more context. But if you put the experience with the newer technology, like I said, you keep learning, and that's how you get yourself unstuck, is you just go on to the next thing. Go to a convention. Like, our company is very, we used to always go to the CRS one, which was in February, January. And we just brought back all kinds of ideas. It re-energized you. Now, do you use all those ideas? I wish we did, but no, but it gets you re-energized and back into the right mindset. Like Real has Real Rise, which is coming up here in November. It's a way to re-energize yourself going into the new year.
Well, and reading, you just said, you don't even have to travel to listen to, I just literally this week have 3 new podcasts that I have discovered from other podcasts, and they're just have been enlightening me, sparking different ideas and different thought processes. And I've been doing this for 17 years, whatever. Or books, like you just said, right? Ask someone, hey, what's a book that you read that changed your life? I mean, there's so many things. If this is still what you want to do, you still have to figure out how to consistently get better at it, right?
Yeah. Well, in this day and age, I mentioned on a previous podcast, there's so many different avenues that you can have success in this industry. And there's so many different avenues that you can grow and hone your skills in this industry as well. Hop on YouTube. If you're a visual person, the digital education is free and at the fingertips, or you like to read or listen to podcasts on your long drives. Not to be hard or anything, but there's endless opportunities to educate and hone your skills. I think that's the biggest part, right? You mentioned going to conventions, but 75% of probably the people that go to conventions don't take anything away from it, right? So you have to do that, and you have to actually put it into action.
Right. Yeah. Well, and then it's also too, I think, and I'm going to go on a little tangent here for a minute, but treating it like a business, right? If you're not putting in the time, you're not showing up for yourself, whether that means you're going to a physical office, you're going to your home office, you're going to a coffee shop, or whatever it is, just show up, like do the thing, right? And be a professional, right? That's the other thing. Like I was thinking about this, and I'm going to revisit this book, but in my previous career, my previous life, well, I did sales marketing, but in the hospitality hotel world. And I remember feeling stuck, like in my position, like I kind of like, okay, I've reached my goals. What's next? Whatever. And I remember, and I don't remember who recommended the book to me, but, and you men probably won't find it as interesting, but the book was called Basic Black by Kathy Black, who, the newspaper Glamourite, I can't think of the name of
I think it was Hearst.
Yes. She ran the Hearst empire, and she was a woman. And like, it goes through like her different phases of understanding what she needed to do to present herself in a manner where people would respect her and take her seriously. And I think that's a phenomenal book, and I highly recommend that you read it. Whether, I guess you could read it too as a guy, I guess, because you're a sharp dresser. But just things like that, like that I feel like if you want to move forward, you have to do something to move forward. You have to take action. You can't just sit and go, I don't have business, or, this client's frustrating me or whatever. And like you just said too, PT, like, and it's your mindset. I mean, what do you think of? You're going to get more of, right? You think that everything's difficult. Well, everything's going to be difficult.
Yeah. Here's another idea too, that I was just kind of thinking about while you were talking. I would agree with you, is that it's just how you view yourself. And I think one of the ways to gain confidence is to go into rooms that you're not even comfortable being in. Right. So, I remember back when you encouraged me to join Rotary. I mean, I was young then, not as young as PT was. Well, close. I mean,
You'll never be as young as PT, Brad. Newsflash.
Well, right. But it was, I was the youngest person at that time in there by probably 15 years or so, and maybe 10. But it was, in a room where I wasn't comfortable. I mean, you like had the mayor in there, the superintendent of the schools. And I mean, here's this kid that was in his late 20s that was intimidated of these people, but being in those rooms, having those conversations, the relationships that I've over the years out of the Rotary alone have really built have really been awesome. And there's other organizations, Unity Point, you can go on, but just getting yourself in those rooms where you're around people that will push you unintentionally, that you want to, not necessarily be like those people, but these are successful people that know what they're doing, and just listening to their conversations really helped me out a lot.
Well, and I believe too that, like, to go back to the greatness, creates greatness, right? And it all, if you put the work in, it comes naturally, right? If you be in the room, if you put yourself in the places that you believe that you can be successful in, then it will come natural. You'll build the relationships, and the more that people see you, and you build a relationship, the more trust they build in you, and it's going to pay in tenfold down the road.
Right.
Yeah.
When I know we've talked a little bit about this on previous podcasts. I wish I should write down episodes of certain hot topics, but it's also just like maybe the other reason why people sometimes feel stuck or, kind of in a rut or whatever is because you're not being your authentic self. Right. So that's the thought when you were saying that, PT, that brought me to that, is like, don't, social media has this, it's such a great thing, but it's also a bad thing, right? Because everyone compares themselves to everybody. They watch what everybody else does. They see what, somebody, says or whatever. And they're like, oh, I should do that, or I should do this, or why am I not good like that, or whatever. You just need to really like hone in on what makes you happy, what satisfies you. And you need to focus on that and double down on that skill and that growth, or that, road that you need to go down, not focus on what other people are doing and how, because you're not them, you're you. And that's how you're going to find your people too. Like somebody said this too, like, I mean, you're with someone and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to listen to this person talk anymore. This is a horrible experience. Like, well, then don't work with them.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right.
Find your people. Find your.
That even goes with like who you hang out with. I mean, if you don't enjoy being around the people and they're not a good influence on you, I mean, you don't have to hang. Like, no one's requiring that you have to have the same set of people that you run around with. I've always been one that you just naturally gravitate towards those that are like you, right? I mean, that they make you more comfortable. But I would argue that you want to gravitate towards people that are going to make you better. Right.
Yeah. Our business partner sent this to Brad and I the other day, and it says, and this was on the Forbes social media, it says, always take the job where you like the people In the end, there's no clear career path, only great people along a path that reveals itself along the way.
Yep.
And I think that goes for not only like where you work, who you work with for or whatnot, but also who you're working, like as far as clients and buyers and sellers, like, you know, work with the people you want to work with. Like that's only going to make you and them happier, because otherwise you're forcing something that doesn't really exist.
Totally agree.
And I think that's a good point to start, right? I mean, you know, we can throw out a million different ideas and motivational things to do. But I think you have to, and I was slightly joking at the beginning of this episode, but you do kind of have to look in the mirror and say, hey, you know, what am I not really enjoying in this? What would potentially get me to that point where I am enjoying myself? I am happy, because at the end of the day, you're only going to find success in something that you enjoy doing. Yep. You're going to feel just emotionally drained if you just continue on every single day and you don't enjoy what you do when you wake up. It's
and
tough.
People know it too.
Yeah.
I mean, they can totally feel it if you're not genuine about loving your job. I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people in this country. We're lucky that we have the option to do anything that you want to do. And like in real estate alone, like a lot of people just really think about sales, but I mean, there's a lot of other avenues. I mean, you can get into property management, you can get into teaching, you can get into commercial real estate, you can get into land development. You know, there's so many different things.
Property management, leasing.
Which I wouldn't think that'd be the funnest job, but there's some people that really enjoy it. So, I mean, it's one of those where everybody's kind of got their niche. Yeah. And I would say, you know, I can't preach enough. Just get moving. So
let's switch gears a little bit. Yep. Same kind of topic, but let's switch gears. So yesterday we had a meeting with a younger agent. She's still in her first year of her business, and she is at a brokerage that she feels duped. She feels like a bunch of promises were made, none were kept. And she's really feeling, this is kind of where this topic came from, by the way, stuck, stagnant, knows she wants to do this, but she's just, you know, so what's your advice to those people and the people that are like, I think real estate's the way I want to go, but I am in a bad situation and I'm not sure what to do.
I think, you know, it's like anything else. You're going to be told by your gut, whether you're at the right place or not, and you just have to listen. And there's a lot of times when you go to a brokerage and maybe they're not giving you the training that you wanted. And the best part about real estate is there's always a lot of options. So I would not advise jumping companies all the time. That I really think it's hard to build a brand when you do that. But I really think when you're brand new and you know pretty quickly that this might not be the right fit, don't just hang around there for years and years and years expecting it to get better, because what's the definition of insanity?
Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would piggyback off that as well. I mean, do the research and understand, okay, you know, this is what I'm missing, what offers that on the outside of where I'm at, and just dial in, interview and ask questions. Don't be afraid to get people's opinion. At the end of the day, they're going to tell you, you're going to see it in this digital age. You can see who's enjoying where they're at. You can see who's not active and not really, you know, presenting themselves, because, you know, at the end of the day, they might not be as proud as where they're currently at. Yeah. But my single word advice would be take the risk. I mean, it all seems scary and it all might just not make sense at the total time, but you have to trust your gut, as Brad mentioned, and just make sure that you're only going to trust your own intuition at the end of the day.
Well, that's a good point, PT, to take the risk. I listened to a podcast. This was Ed Milet.
Shocker. Brad loves Ed Milet.
Said that we were really taught as young kids to, when we were originally taught to color, we were always taught to be in the lines, right? You're not going to get anywhere when you're always going to color in the lines. Now, if you want a normal life, you just want to go through the motions and you want to retire, not real comfortably, but retire, fine. But if you want to be exceptional and you want to be able to give back, you've got to color outside of the lines, and you have to do things that aren't normal, right? That the normal person doesn't do.
Well, and to echo on that, like, and I read this the other day and I don't remember where I read it, but it was like in regards to people think that having a real estate business is risky. how risky is it to be
Yeah, they don't think
employed,
about
but
that. Yep.
to be employed by someone or something for 20, 30 years, and all of a sudden you get fired, or they decide to close the business and you're
There's
out.
been big corporations here, small companies that, they just lay off people or they just close. Right.
Right. So, I mean,
the same thing.
at the end of the day, I mean, you need to do what's best for you, right?
Yep.
Don't rely on somebody else for that thing. You were smiling. What do you got there, PT?
Yeah. I mean, the amazing thing about our industry is there's a set floor and there's no ceiling.
Right.
And who is that dependent on?
Yourself.
You.
Yeah.
Right.
You write your own story.
And it's such a freeing feeling to be able to control that destiny, where I've got friends that, you are expected to do this and this and this, and this is what you do, and you pump it out, and then it just happens again. Right. Yep. And so, there's no expectations in this industry, and it is what you make it of yourself.
Yep.
Well, and I just also on that, I mean, going back to the young lady we were talking about too, I mean, if you're in an environment where you're not, because this was one of the things she kept saying over and over again, like she just feels there's no one to help her. She calls people, no one answers. And so I just think if you're in that environment, first of all, I'm sorry. But second of all, you need to make a change. Like, and, there was, I guess, some people that had influenced her decision a little bit, like her parents, because she's younger and whatnot. And at the end of the day, her parents aren't paying her bills, right? Like she has to be the one that makes the decision. And now when she's not sure what to do, that's the same thing as you need to make that decision. And you need to, like what PT said, you need to be talking to, if this is a brokerage change, you need to be talking to the brokers. You need to meet people. You need to see what the people that are there are like, because you should have those opportunities presented to you. You should have people that you can rely on and that can be your mentors. You can shadow. If that does not exist in your current environment, then I'm sorry. You need to start looking. There are so many different real estate companies out there now. You should, and I know what I was going to say, because you said something about, because I was trying to think also at another thought. You said something about you shouldn't switch companies all the time, right? And I agree with that. And obviously you live that because you were at the same brokerage for 23 years. Yes, I said that, 23 years before we made a change. And the crazy thing is I look at these people that are in our industry and they jump around all the time. And, the next shiny penny, as we call it, shows up and they move brokerages or whatever. And then they don't like that. So then they go, I mean, some of them even went back to the same brokerage, whatever. But the thing that hit me when you said that was, why? Like, if you're a realtor, you represent a buyer or a seller. Depending on the type of market, you might be working with that specific buyer for a couple of years. You might be working with that seller, which I was laughing about this. I mean, we typically do 6-month listing contracts. We used to, back in the day, PT, when we had we used to do 1 year listing contracts, because I mean, the average days on market was like 6 months. But so like, you want a client to trust you and work with you you trust you to see that you're going to see it through to the end. Well, shouldn't you have done enough research that you're not just going to hop brokerages every 1 to 2 years? You've already known that. And if you do, then why would your client trust you if you can't even make a decision where you want
I would agree. And when you're doing your research, and that's a good point, Andrew. I mean, very few people, there's been nobody that I can think of that have been at multiple brokerages, more than 3 per se, that have been extraordinarily successful in our area. Most have only been at 1 or 2. I mean, let's really face it.
If they're really successful, yeah.
My biggest piece of advice, and I've technically been with 3 real estate companies now, that I was with 1 out of college. So
yeah,
well, that doesn't count.
That was more of a training ground. But
were you really there, or as we've discussed previously, you were just at the Illini games and you said you were there? Okay,
I was enjoying Champaign, Illinois. What
there's a statement I think we should put on a bumper sticker.
I was enjoying it.
But when I think back at it, and I've heard this one on podcasts too, that, you want to work at a company, when you look at the leadership, you want those people to have been where you are right now. Like, they have already walked the road that you want to walk, right? A good example is a alcohol and substance abuse counselor. most of the best ones in the world are former drug addicts and alcoholics themselves, right? I mean, that's an extreme example, right? I would argue that most of the best real estate brokers, most of the best real estate operators,
The coaches.
were excellent realtors themselves. And the reason why is they know what it was like when they were brand new agents. They remember those days when it was really tough. And if you've never been there before, it's very tough to relate to your agents.
Yeah.
Well,
So I would look for a company that has the leadership, has been there.
well, and you have to do some buyer beware too. You know, we're harping on, you know, do your research. But if it's seems too good to be true, it probably is. And you just have to have some buyer beware there. I mean, that's there. It's a lot, you know, just like everything else in the world, you know, you got to make sure you go through the fine print. And, if it seems like, oh, we're getting all of this stuff, and, you know, this is our splits and this is all this and it's all great, you know, yeah, I'm just going to have to walk in the door and life is great. You've got to have that voice in the back of your head saying, okay, this doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, and it's funny, yesterday, I think both of you, well, at least Brett or PT, I know you're in the office. We were having a similar discussion with 3 or 4 people that were there. And Nikki, who's new to our team, but not new to me, she said, and it was kind of like, wow, good job, Nikki. She said, you know, at some point though, let's be real, guys, you are self-employed. You are an entrepreneur. This is your own business. If you've decided to do this, take some personal accountability. And I was like, whoa, can you just say that at our next sales meeting? Or can you just speak, you know, like, I mean, like it's simple, but it's like people just forget that,
it's
right?
very hard. That real estate tends to attract a couple totally different people, right? Number one, it attracts the very high achievers, right? So these are the ones that just want to take on the world. They want to do the best they possibly can. It also can attract those that want to set their own hours and their own schedule because that is what is sold by a lot of companies, right? Those are the ones that Nikki is talking about, that they don't understand that it's not like a 9-to-5 job where they're just going to give you leads and, you know, you like have to come to the office at 9 and you leave at 5. These people are sold that you can create your own schedule. So they just never work.
Right.
And then they can't figure out why they don't sell things. And then they also are the same ones that aren't good with their paperwork. They're not good with hardly anything that they don't ever show up to trainings. And guess what? They're stuck, right? They're stuck because they're not moving.
So if that's you, if you're listening to this right now and you can relate to that, I mean, when is the last time that you went to a training that helped you? When is the last time that you shadowed a mentor or someone you respect in the business? When is the last time you did something different in your business that aligned with your future career path and your goals? Like, because at the end of the day too, that's the other thing is like, it's not about necessarily, we've talked about this before too, how many houses you sell or how much you've closed or whatever. If your future goals are to own your own brokerage, right? Or to, have a huge network of agents for training and mentoring, like whatever it is, you have a different path on how you need to get there. So whatever you're doing now, if you're feeling stuck, is it because you're just working with buyers and sellers and running on a hamster wheel and that's not satisfying you? Or is it because you're not doing that and it's not satisfying you? Like, I don't know, but those are things that I'd be really, well, like we started this podcast by saying, look in the mirror, like ask yourselves those questions. Like, I mean, I don't know how you get to the next level or the next phase or get unstuck unless you really have a hard, we're blessed. Brad and I have these conversations with each other. Maybe we're not blessed.
No, I mean, it's really good. And actually for a future podcast, that's one of my topics is like how you make it all work being in the same family.
Right.
Which is great. I mean, it really is, which we'll talk about in
Maybe we should have
podcast.
Papa on for that.
Yeah, we could actually bring him in and he would probably like some of these questions. But yeah, I mean, that's one of those, just going back. I mean, there's no secret to this business and another way to get unstuck. It's hard work, right? so when I was at my previous brokerage and I was young, I was about your age, PT, the owner of the company.
We act like you're so young now. You're like almost 30 now, aren't you?
Well, no, I was like 25, 26 maybe. And the owner of the company got up there at the company year-end thing, and he always gave a speech, and it was always really motivating. I mean, he was an older gentleman at that point, but he said, and I'll never forget this, he said, in the real estate business, there's no secret. The ones that sell the most, the ones that are always at the top, it's hard work.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And that sounds so simple,
But
that's what it is. Yeah.
But if I mean, I know I feel like coming to a close on this one, but like, if you look even like our group, like our buy, sell, build QC locally, hyper local here, and like, you look at the people that are showing up to the stuff. You look at the people that, like last night, the newer agent, younger agent, talk about young. I think he's the youngest in the office, who, met someone at an open house. Cause by the way, he does open houses every weekend. I don't know why everybody, if you're starting your business and that's what you want to do is buy and sell homes, I don't know why you don't do open houses. They're free. It's advertising. You get to meet people. But anyway, he picked up like a legit luxury buyer or luxury seller at an open house. He knew he did not have the skill set to master that on his own. So he came to you, and I mean, it was like 8:45 at night and you were finishing a listing appointment. There's a lot of people that were like, no, dude, I got to watch my, I don't know, reality TV or sports game. And I wouldn't do that. I mean, and so those are the things. I mean, are you doing that? Right. If you're not, I mean, that's probably why you're feeling the way you're feeling.
Yeah.
You know?
And how old is he? 19 or 20? He's 19.
Is it 19?
Yeah. But he showed up yesterday.
Showed up in jacket.
He showed up in jacket yesterday. And
I have a picture, PT.
We went to the appointment, and it went great. And he's the one that got us in the door, right? And so he is 19, so he's not like, bragging about himself. He probably undersells himself just a little bit. And like I told the seller, the best part that you get with him is he's extremely motivated. Yep. Like, I mean, he wants this badly.
And he wants to learn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Exactly. So, I mean, it's being there, David Knox, and hard work. I mean, that is the two things. And getting back to getting unstuck, move.
Mm-hmm. And you're going to enjoy things more if you don't treat it as a transactional business. If you look at this as an opportunity to meet people and help them achieve their real estate goals, whatever that is, buying, selling, building a business. I mean, how satisfying is that?
Can I just mention one thing?
Oh, no, here we go.
No, this is really good. So our current CEO, you want to talk about
Tamir?
Somebody that knows.
Which Siri calls him Tammy.
Tamir Poley.
I literally sent a text to Brad and Sarah yesterday. So Tammy.
Everywhere.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever noticed that? Like, he's constantly on about every Zoom call that he could possibly humanly be on, and he travels all around to be in touch with his agents, right? That is the kind of company that you want to work for. And that alone, if you're worried about being stuck, seeing somebody work that hard on your behalf, and just to think about that, 29,000 agents, he wants to be able to meet basically everybody, right? And he makes an effort to. I mean, that is motivating in itself, to work at a company where you have a CEO that cares that much.
Well, and the other thing that should motivate you too is, I think about this, we have someone in our office that's struggling with some really serious health things. And I think to myself, when I'm like, this is difficult, or I don't want to do this today or whatever, I'm like, but you know what? Like, I can do this today.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel good enough to do this today. Like, that's the other thing, going back to it's mindset. Like, you got to approach every day that way and just feel grateful for where you're at. And I hope we helped somebody today.
We did. I feel that, you just have to look in the places that you aren't looking at, right?
Yep.
And continue to search, run the plays, and the fruit of your labor will at some point expose itself.
Absolutely.
And enjoy your time in Champaign. Peace.
Peace.